So does anybody have any questions at this point about the ego concepts in the lectures?
Yeah, and I was reading in this chapter I told you about, and it had a statement here. I don't think you've used this term, but it talks about the realization of a separate ego existence is an illusion, constitutes an extremely important step in the evolution of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Separate ego, what does he mean by that? Separate ego existence. Ego is split or something, huh?
Well, I'm gonna, let me describe something that might help. I have referenced before the idea, there's a teaching that talks about 3 different spheres.
Uh-huh.
Okay? The individual self-sphere, the universal self-sphere,
okay,
and the God sphere. And this is from the 50-50 teaching. And what this refers to is there's a place where I see the world from my viewpoint, and I do not truly understand your viewpoint. So when I only speak from me, I see me as separate from you.
okay,
But when I speak from the universal self-sphere, I have a chance to see both you and me. So,
I get that.
right. So you have an ego, and I have an ego. And then we have an ego. And this is what I meant when I talked about the human beings as a species have an ego. Human beings as a species have a concept, even though it might be in little tiny cultural fragments. But the human species as a whole has some very similar ideas about what people should be like.
Uh-huh.
Well, when you break off into your own ego place, to some extent you are separating from the rest of us, and you will be limited on what you can learn. And I think that might be what that lecture is talking about. Separate ego place, rather than ego as a function that all of us can participate in.
So that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.